everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss some very important rules which you need to remember while attempting direction sense test questions, which are a very important part of the verbal reasoning section of your paper. So this video will be particularly useful for all those who are preparing for competitive exams, especially IBPS, SSC CGL, SSC CHSL, SSC FCI, and all other SSC exams, LIC, UPSC, Railways, MAT, NTSC, CLAT, Banking, and all other reasoning based examinations. And you find a section on reasoning in almost all the competitive exams which are important for job placement as well as Olympiads for school students. So let's start with this video. And the first and the most important thing when we are talking about direction sense is knowing about the directions. So on your screen, you can presently see a diagram in which the various directions have been depicted. So this you already must be aware of, that whenever we plot any kind of map or something, we always take the north in the upper hand side and the south on the lowermost end. The east goes to your right and west goes to your left. So these are the prime directions. We call them the prime directions. So when we say prime directions, we mean north, south, east and west. These are our prime directions. Now, what are cardinal directions then? As you can see on your screen, I have used a word cardinal here. So cardinal directions are the directions which are found between the prime directions. So like between north and east, we have the northeast. Similarly, between south and east, we have the southeast. Then between south and west, we have the southwest. And between north and west, we have the northwest direction. So what are cardinal directions? Northeast, northwest, southeast and southwest. These are our cardinal directions. Another important thing to be remembered here are the angles between these directions. Between the prime directions, that is, if we talk about north and east, the angle will always be 90 degrees. Similarly, between east and south, again, the angle is 90 degrees. Between south and west, again, it is going to be 90 degrees. And between north and west, again, it's going to be 90 degrees. So, if we talk about north and south, what is the direction, what is the angle between north and south? It becomes 90 plus 90, that is 180 degrees. So between two opposite directions, the angle is always 180 degrees. We are talking about the prime directions here. And the angle between a prime and a cardinal direction, that is, like if we talk about north and northwest, the angle will be what? It will be half of 90, that is 45 degrees. Similarly, between east and northeast, here you can look here, it's already marked, it's again 45 degrees. So if I ask you what is the angle between south and southwest, your answer should be 45 degrees. So angles must also be kept in mind, because there may be certain questions which may be based on calculating the angle, or the angle may be given and you might be asked to find out in which direction the person or the object may be moving after that. So this was about prime and cardinal directions. Now let us talk about the clockwise movement. So what is meant by clockwise movement? When we say clockwise, it means the direction in which the hands of a clock move. It may be minutes hand, it may be hours hand, or it may be the seconds hand. They always move in one direction, and that direction is known as the clockwise direction. So if you have observed a watch carefully, this is how the needles of a clock move. So such kind of a direction is known as clockwise direction. It always marks the movement towards the right. That means if something is moving towards the right, we say the movement is going to be clockwise, and vice versa. Again, the angles need to be kept in mind. So starting from this point, that can be marked as the beginning point. This is the 0 degree angle. As we move towards the first cardinal direction, the angle becomes 45 degrees. Then comes the main direction, the angle becomes 90 degrees. Then we keep on adding 45 with every cardinal direction. 135. 90 plus 45 gives you 135. 135 plus 45 gives you 180. So we keep on adding 45, that gives you 225. Further it adds on to 270. Add 45 to it, you get 315, and on adding 45 again you get 360. So coming back to the starting point, you can consider it to be a 0 degrees angle or a 360 degrees angle. So this is how we talk about clockwise movement. Next is anti-clockwise movement. So what is meant by anti-clockwise movement? Movement towards the left, that is direction opposite to the direction in which the hands of a clock move. That means now we'll be going this way. So this is the anti-clockwise movement. So again, the angles will be added up by 45 degrees each, starting with 0. This time we are moving anti-clockwise. 45, then 90, then 135, and finally this becomes 180. Then again we continue adding 45, we get 225, 270, 315, and coming back to 360. So finally we got 360 degrees or 0 degrees, which mean the same here. So this was about clockwise and anti-clockwise movement. Now we must remember certain basic rules about geometrical figures here, because in most of the questions that are given to you in the exam, the shapes that you will come across will either be a square or a rectangle or maybe a right angled triangle. So these are the most common shapes based on which the questions are asked in the exam. So we know that all the four sides of a square are equal. So that is what needs to be kept in mind here, that all the four sides of a square are equal. Talking about a rectangle, the opposite sides are equal. And in case of a right angle triangle, if this is 90 degrees and we need to find out the hypotenuse, let us label it as ABC. We should be familiar with Pythagoras theorem here, which states that AC square is equal to AB square plus BC square. So this is the Pythagoras theorem using which we can find any of the side which is unknown, provided we know the other two sides. So if we know any of the two sides, we can easily calculate the third side of a right angle triangle using the Pythagoras theorem. So this is about figures that you need to know. And after that, shadows form a very important part of such type of questions. So what all things we need to know about shadows here is that the first and the foremost thing, a shadow is always formed in the direction that is opposite to the direction of the sun. So a shadow is always formed in a direction opposite to the sun. That means if the sun is in the east, where will the shadow be formed? Yes, the shadow will be formed in the west. And what if the sun is in the west? The shadow will be formed in the east. So whichever direction the sun is present, the shadow is always formed in the direction opposite to the direction of the sun. Also, you must remember here that the sun always rises in the east and the sun always sets in the west. This may sound a bit childish, but when it comes to competitive exams, these small little things, they matter a lot. So suppose you are standing facing the north. So this is the north direction and there's a person who is facing the north, and at the time of sunrise, in which direction will the shadow be formed? So such type of questions are very important for your exams. We know that at sunrise, the sun is in the east. So this is the position of the sun at sunrise. And if the person is standing facing the north, the shadow will be formed on the opposite side. That means the shadow will be formed towards the west. As simple as that. And if we talk about the direction, the shadow will be formed towards the left side of the person. Similarly, if a person is standing facing the south at sunrise, so the sun remains in the east, but the shadow will be formed in the west But for the person who is standing facing the south, the direction would become his right side. That means the direction becomes the opposite. So the shadow will be formed towards the west, but it would be the person's right hand side where the shadow is formed. Talking about sunset, if we are talking about sunset at this point of time, at sunset the sun is in the west, so we'll mark this like this. This is the sun which is in the west direction. For a person who is standing facing the north, where will the shadow be formed? Yes, the shadow will be formed in the east. And what side of the person would it be? It would be the right side of the person. That means the shadow will form on the right side of the person. Similarly, for a person who is facing the south, the direction remains east, but for this person, the shadow will be formed on the left hand side of this person. So it is always opposite. So these are some very, very important points that you need to remember while solving such type of questions in your competitive exams. Further, about turning right and left. So this is the most important part which we need to discuss here. Suppose there's a person, the person may be traveling in any of the four directions, any of the four main directions. We know this is north, we know this is south, we know this is east, and we also know this is the west direction. Now suppose you are given that a person traveling north takes a left turn. How will you identify which way to go? Whether to go right side or to go left side? So always remember that a person traveling towards north has the right and the left side same as you have. Like this is going to be the right side for the person who's traveling north, and this is going to be the left side. So this is exactly similar to what your right and left are. For south, it becomes the opposite. That means this will be the left side and this will be the right side. Now what about east? Try and put yourself in a situation where you are standing facing the east direction. You will find that this will be your right side and this will be your left side. That means if a person traveling towards east takes a right turn, that means this will be his right hand side. You have to go this way. Whereas if a person traveling towards east takes a left turn, you will go in this direction. Similarly, west will be exactly opposite to east. So for west, this will be the right side and this will be the left side. So if a person turns this way, he is taking a left turn, and if a person turns this way, he is taking a right turn. So this is how we decide which is right and which is left for a person moving in any of the four given directions. I hope you found this video useful. If yes, don't forget to hit the like button and comment on the video. Subscribe to our channel, and yes, keep watching for more upcoming videos in which I'll be taking up some more questions, important questions based on the concepts we have discussed today. Thanks for joining me, and see you soon with another important video.